Hi, welcome to Chad Silversmithing. Before we get too far into the video, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, that really helps to get my channel promoted, and I appreciate that. I also love it when people leave comments, so feel free to, give me ideas for videos, constructive criticism. I like to hear how you do things. That's always interesting for me, and just what you'd like to see. So. Today I think I've been meaning to do this one for a while, and I just finally got around to it. I have quite a few friends who are artists, and so I thought today I was going to do something that is symbolic of art as a general thing. So if you're familiar with the term metonymy, it's when you take a particular item and make it sort of symbolic for a bigger, broader concept. Like, for instance, the pen is mightier than the sword. They're talking about the pen as representing the written word. Well, the painter's palette is kind of one of those things that seems to be universally representative of art in general, or visual arts in general, I should say. So I'm going to make a painter's palette with 5 stones on it. I picked out some little 4mm faceted stones of various colors. There's a big mixture. There's like Swarovski green crystal, there's a CZ, there's a pink stone that I think is pink tourmaline, there's some amethyst, and there's a blue sapphire. So we're going to do that. I'm going to make a little paintbrush by kind of sculpting a piece of 12 gauge round sterling silver wire and maybe doing a little texturing on it. And we'll go from there and make it into a pendant. So hopefully it'll turn out cool. Before we get started, though, I wanted to thank some groups of people. I wanted to thank my patrons over on Patreon, and I have a new one, Marty C. Thanks for signing up. I really appreciate your support. I think you'll find that the community over there is a super friendly group, and there's lots of knowledge and skills over there, and it's really nice to see all of them chatting with each other and coming up with ideas together and showing each other their work. It's a really nice community, so thank you all for that. Thanks, Marty, for signing up. My other group is my YouTube subscribers, and we just passed 13,300, I believe, which is awesome and amazing. Thank you for that. Sometimes you leave some of the nicest comments on YouTube, and I really appreciate that. When I'm tired and I don't feel like doing this, sometimes it's nice to get some input like that, because it's really good to know that people are getting some value out of this and are finding some inspiration from it. So thank you for that. Thank you also for the kind contributions, both the super thanks and the buy me a coffees. Those kind of things really help with the cost of silver right now, so thanks for that. Alright, well, let's get started on this paint palette. So this is one of my design idea books that you can get on my merch store. The more recent ones I've done, I've started adding some conversion charts on the back. This one has fractions of an inch to decimals, and then converts to millimeters over here. So I've been trying to use the metric system more because it makes a little more sense with doing jewelry stuff, as well as just making more sense in general. But I find these useful, and in recent times I've started drawing out my ideas when I'm going to make something, and I usually end up getting a better outcome. So I think they're handy. You should get yourself one. So today I'm going to make a painter's palette, and just kind of a simple one, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some silver here. I was going to use 18 gauge sheet, but I realized I was almost out of it, so I took a couple of pieces of 22 and soldered them together and then filed them into a nice circle. So that's going to be our palette base. I'm going to cut out a little segment here like this, like a regular painter's palette with the jeweler's saw. We'll add a ring up here and a standard bail. I probably won't make that on camera. If you're interested in seeing how to make this kind of bail, there's a video right there. It's a really useful kind of generic geek sort of but nice looking bail. So check that video out if you're interested. And then I've made some bezels for these guys to save time, because I think most of the time I'm going to be soldering those on, drilling some holes there. I'll need to drill this as a hole for your thumb, and normally a painter's palette you have a spot to put your thumb through. And then these will be the paint splotches that are made of those 5 different stones. So Here's a piece of 10 gauge, I think it's 10 gauge sterling round that I found floating around. Stones I picked out. Okay, there's a CZ. There's an amethyst. I threw an opal in there, but I don't think I'm going to use the opal. Here's this one that I think is a pink tourmaline, probably. This is a green lead crystal. And then this is a sapphire, and it's dark blue, but it's hard to see because it's pretty dark. So we'll put those on there. I'm not sure which order I'm going to put them in. And we'll get those soldered down and get this all cleaned up nice. And then I'm going to shape this into my brush here. So I've already marked where the kind of the ferrule for the brush head is. And then we'll kind of taper that down. I don't want to get too thin, otherwise it'll be fragile. But alright, so I think first, let's, I want to put these back in here so I don't lose track of them. And I think we should cut out this little notch here first. So, I'm going to kind of freehand it here. I need a hole right here too for the thumb, right? I think that looks pretty good. Let's go over and saw that out. I might just drill that one with a drill bit so I get a nice round hole. But the rest of this I can saw that out, so let's do that next. Welcome to my sawing area. So I think I'm going to start by going kind of straight in, and then I'll smooth it out with the file. This is a number 1 saw blade, I think. Alright, I'm going to clean that up with the file. I'll be right back. Okay, clean that up with the file a little bit. I'm going to put a little dimple here, center punch, so I can get a pretty good spot on there. I use this little ice pick. It gets a sharper point for me than just a regular center punch. And I use my electric drill here because I don't have a decent Fordham. I have an old one that doesn't work very well. So hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing here. I'm just going to kind of slowly drill through here. Alright, we got a hole for that. That's our little painter's palette. Let's go add some bezels to it. I kind of want the paintbrush to go right through there. So I need to make sure to leave some room. That looks pretty good. I'm going to cut a bunch of little pieces of hard silver sheet solder. I should talk about this actually. I use primarily hard silver sheet solder for almost everything. I use a liquid flux that I dribble on usually. I can sometimes spray it on with a spray bottle. The torch that I use is the Silversmith model, which is their acetylene air torch. It's a good torch. I like it a lot. And I do a lot of pick soldering. Where I pick up stuff on the pick, place it precisely. I won't do that for this first go around here, but I may have to do that later. And if you're interested in finding out about that, I'll put a link up there. So let's see if we can't get these soldered down. Let's cut some solder. Okay. Put a little bit of solder inside of each one of these. They aren't very big, so I don't need a huge amount. It's just got to be touching the side and the bottom. Most of the mass on this one is in the bottom piece. I'm going to try to focus a lot of the heat down there. The bezels are pretty small comparatively, so we need to kind of spend most of our time heating the big massive piece. It takes longer to get up to the soldering temperature. Okay, let's make a ring out of 18 gauge. So I usually, when I'm doing something like this, I solder the jump ring closed first. That way there's already some solder in place. We can just butt it up against whatever we're soldering it to. So let's do that. You can see me pick solder here if you're interested. I tell you what, learning how to pick solder was one of the best things I ever did as far as metal smithing, so I would recommend it because it allows you to, you know, pretty precisely place solder right where you want it. I'm going to put that about right there. This is another one of those situations where I'm soldering something pretty big to something very small. So most of the heat's going over on the pallet. I'm going to pick up a little extra just in case. Alright, so I'm going to let that pickle for a little bit. And we can start working on that paintbrush. Okay, so this part needs to be a flame kind of shape. Try to differentiate that from the rest of it by cutting kind of an angled notch there. Now I think I'm going to use a bigger felt to kind of like taper that. Start to look like the tip of a paintbrush. I'm going to make the handle. This is going to take me a while to file this down to a taper, so I'm probably not going to make you watch me file that whole thing. But basically just going to do that for a while. So I'll be back in a minute. I did a little pre-polishing in there because that's going to be hard to polish later, but I got this filed down to kind of how I wanted it to, and I used my Dremel with a little fine polishing wheel to kind of gently smooth it out. I did a little bit of texturing with the texture stamp in the middle where that ferrule kind of part of the brush is, and I just used this kind of little texture stamp and kind of gently did that. I'm going to try to get sort of a flamey feel on here, and this one has kind of like lines going that way, so I'm going to gently do a little bit of tapping with this. See if we can add a little bit of texture to the actual brush part. Doesn't have to be super detailed, just give an impression of fibers. I'm going to have to smooth out the handle again a little bit because I dinged it up, so I'll be right back. So I kind of got things how I want them to be. I think the easiest way to get this in here without having a lot of excess solder mess that you have to deal with, if we sweat just a little tiny bit of solder on here, so I think that'll be our first step. Sweating solder is where you pre-attach some solder in advance. Okay, so now I'm going to flip this back over, theoretically. Just about like that, maybe. So, if I do this right, we should be able to just heat this enough to get that solder that's on the backside to reflow enough to stick on there nicely without messing up the texturing and stuff that we get on the brush. Hopefully, let's see. Alright, let's check our work. Well, it didn't fall off. That's a good sign. Okay, last step before we pickle. Oh, I'm going to drill a hole in the bottom and center of each of those bezels too. I forgot I was going to do that, but I'm going to do that probably off camera. Here's that bail I was talking about. That's kind of a simple, kind of decent looking bail. So we'll put that through there and solder it closed. I wanted to thank everybody who's bought my ebook too. I just recently published an ebook that's really a guide to my 2023 videos, and it has a number of things in it. It has the original sketch I drew, like on this one here. It has the final product of whatever I was making for the video, a nice picture of it, and let's see what else we got. It's got a list of materials you need in order to make the piece. It's got a difficulty rating, and it's got some notes that I made about each piece, because sometimes you learn things when you're making the piece, and oftentimes I've run across something I'd be like, oh, that would have been easier had I done it this way. Stuff like that. And then a link right to the video. So So if you're interested in checking out the ebook, I'll put a link up there for you. It's a really easy way to access a whole bunch of fun projects all from one location. Alright, we'll let that pickle for a while, and then I'm going to drill some holes in it, polish it, and then I'll set the stones. Alright, well, here's my little painter's palette. Might need to do a little cleanup around the tops of the bezels there a little bit, but other than that, I think I'm done. I'm pleased with it generally. As always, there's always some spots where it's hard to polish in there. And tell me what kind of solutions you do for internal areas like that. I have trouble with those, so I'm curious. But yeah, I think it turned out okay. I'll get some better pictures and put them at the end. Alright, well that was the painter's palette. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, make sure to hit the like button before you leave. And take a moment to check out my channel page. I have well over 350 videos now. There is content for all different levels of silversmiths. So I think even if you're a beginner, you'll find a whole bunch of beginner projects as well as some skill videos. And if you're just looking for more advanced projects, there's some ideas there for you. So check it out. Watch a few videos, like them, and then subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. The other thing is, check out the video description down below. There's some relevant links if you want to get yourself one of those design idea books. Those are really handy, and they're on my merch store, and there's a link to that there. There's a link to my ebook, which I talked about earlier. I hope you find that to be a super useful guide to 2023's videos. I think it makes for a convenient way to get to a whole bunch of fun projects. There's a link to my Patreon if you want to check out that community. That's a great place. As well as some other relevant links. So check those out. Come back and visit again. Thanks for watching. Take care. Happy silversmithing.